Hey there, fellow nerds. Welcome to an extra special episode of The Present Illness. This is the podcast where two physicians try to make sense of an increasingly ill and difficult to understand world. I'm Arghavan, Salles, a surgeon scientist, and your friendly neighborhood doom scroller in residence.
And I'm Alyssa, Burgart, an anesthesiologist and bioethicist who tracks news and health law cases like their EKGs, full of spikes and surprises. This is an extra special episode to update all of you on what's been happening in Iran with one of our favorite friends from the diaspora. Our special guest today is our friend and longtime podcaster, Dr. Kaveh Hoda.
Nailed it.
You should check out his great show, The House of Pod. We are fans of his show, and he joins us today. Cheers, with a little glass of whiskey.
Tea. This is tea. Don't
tea. Okay,
don't throw me under the bus.
Okay.
It looks like tea. You never know, people. It is in a tea glass because I'm classy like that.
I'm drinking whiskey.
I am too. I never drink tea. Are you kidding me? Like, I drink coffee or whiskey and sometimes water when I'm at work. So here's the thing. I know that this is a special episode, so maybe it doesn't count. But I'm pretty sure, I think I'm your first guest on this pod, the first non-Alyssa Arghavan voice on this podcast. Am I correct about that?
You are
That's
absolutely right. You are the first person we thought was so important that you should join us, and you don't have to even have a name starting with the letter A.
I also kind of forced my way in, and I was like, hey, we should do this. It'd be fun to come on. This is Alyssa. So let's maybe get right into something that's important about Iranians. Have you heard of the Tarof system? Tarof?
No. Tell me.
Let's talk about this because I think this will explain a lot to you. You need to know what this is. Actually, no, this is actually serious because you do need to know if you're going to be working with Arghavan in any capacity. And if the listeners out there are listening to have any Iranian friends, coworkers, person in their life, they should understand this concept. Arghavan, let's explain what it is. You want to give it a shot first? What Tarof is? It's a fundamental tenet of the culture, so it should be discussed. Explain, please.
Okay, in Alyssa's defense, the reason she doesn't know about Tarof is I'm terrible at Tarof, so it hasn't really come up in our interaction. So Tarof is this. It is like very integral to our culture, as Kaveh said. And what it describes is how people defer to each other all the time about everything. And it's not necessarily sincere, but it's like mandatory. So you go to a store. I know, hold on. You're going to add your point.
We're going to debate this whole episode, and it's going to start here with the definition of Tarof, as I expected, because I have a slightly different definition of it than most people. But please, yes, go on.
So in practice, how it shows up is like you walk into a store, you see a tablecloth you like. Sir, how much is this tablecloth? Or ma'am, how much is this tablecloth? Oh, it's not worthy of you. I couldn't even ask you for any money for it. Well, okay, but like, how much is it really? Oh no, I'm serious. Like it's not worthy at all. And then you play this game, and then they'll give you a price, and then you'll go, no way am I paying that price. And then you actually like do your negotiation. That's like in a formal business setting with friends or people and have relationships with. It'll be like, oh, I love your earrings, and it'll be like, here, please take them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and that
happen.
would be actually a sincere. I think that's what Kaveh was going to maybe take issue with. That would be a sincere offer. Like it would be, I would love for you to have them. That's such a high compliment that you like my earrings. I would love for you to have them. And then they genuinely are like, fine with you walking away with their earrings. But you would say no. If you were a good Iranian, you say, oh, no. I don't want
but
your earrings.
But you would force them into
you.
You'd like put them in my pocket or something as I was leaving. So, okay, we're not that far off. I will say this. It's the way I think of it, and it's a pretty big, broad concept across Persian culture, but it's like politeness to the point of rudeness. Like if you've ever seen two Persian people fighting over a check, it's pretty intense, and sometimes it can get scary for the person that works there. So we are always figuring ways to outgame each other to pay for that check, because that's what you want to do. And some people may say that that's sort of fake, but I don't think for most of us it is. We want to be the person who does that. So we want to be that person, and we want to make sure that we want to be so polite it's rude. To the point of like where we're like, I'm going to pay for this, and if you don't, I will make a scene. And it's a kind of a game of chicken sometimes. So it's a broad definition, and I hear people talk about it cynically, like it's just Iranians faking it. And there is that sort of like flowery language component that happens in the Persian language. Like you get into a cab in Iran, and the cab driver is like, no, 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 I don't need your money. It's fine. Please, I just drove you here. Don't. And then like every now and then there'll be an American who'll be like, okay, cool, thanks, bro. That was people here were so nice. That's crazy. It's weird. But like you're supposed to still pay them. And there's like you have to go back and forth a little bit. That's a little phony, but that's also about the floweriness of the language. The actual components of Tarof I like are that you are the one that's trying to be so hospitable that like sometimes you have to take like a real stand to do so. So what's happened is she's been on my show a number of times. So she Tarof by saying, yeah, you can come on our show too. And I was like, instead of being typical Persian, I was like, yeah, let's do it. Sounds good.
Well, it was a sincere invitation, and I'm glad we didn't play any silly games about it. I'm glad you're here with us today.
Yeah, I'm here.
Well,
I'm
and
here.
I've been on your podcast once, and I'm still waiting for my next invitation. So if you ever want to have me back,
I would love to have you back.
I will pull some Tarof.
Hey, listen, listen. It's. I'm gonna tell you, Arghavan comes on the podcast, and I'm like, hey, I should have Alyssa on. She's like, no, you got me. I'm good. You don't need to have her on. I mean, I got this covered. I'm like, okay, cool. I mean, I was
I
good.
will. I will tell you, I was very proud. I was out to lunch with a Persian friend, and I did not know what it was called, but I also come from a family that has this check paying thing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's probably just percolated out from the Persian culture into us white folk. I'll take that.
We'll take credit for a lot of stuff. So,
you should. That's fine.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. And I managed to pay for lunch before she realized, and she was like, oh, you're taking my Persian card. And I was like,
so good. So good. I'm so proud of you. I'm so
I mean,
impressed.
it's quite the feat, actually, to have done that to a Persian person.
Well, I mean, to be fair, your Persian friend probably wasn't ready for it. Because when we go out with our white friends, it would happen so much. And I'm sorry, I know your listeners actually want to hear about what's happening in Iran. We'll get to it, I'm sure. But what'll happen, as Arghavan, I'm sure, can attest, is we'll be out with our friends and they'll be like, we'll do like the thing where we're like, hey, no, I got this covered. And like you expect them, and you're willing to pay it. You're okay with that. But you want to see them at least try to be like, dude, no. And then you fight them, be like, no, I got this. But when they're just like, oh, thanks, cool, got it, good, you got it. Then we're like, fucking shit. Gotta hang out with less white people. That's like happens every time. Not every time.
That's rude.
It does happen.
All my friends are honorary Persian. They've got the game down.
They know the drill. Sorry, there's like real things we have to discuss. I'm sorry.
Yes, let's do it. Okay, so obviously, to state the obvious, as I said, obviously to state the obvious. Look at me with words, so good.
So good.
That's why I have a podcast, folks. I'm so good with the words. There's been a war that the United States and Israel declared. I guess even that is a controversial thing to say because half the time our government is like, it's not a war, it's a combat. But then the other half of the time, they're like, yes, we're going to win this war. We're going to annihilate them in this war. Anyway, there are definite warlike activities, if nothing else, happening between like the U.S. and Israel having started attacking Iran a week ago-ish from when we're recording this podcast. We're recording on Sunday, March 8th. And, for folks who don't know, I did go on Kaveh's podcast last week. There's a really thorough conversation, I think, about what we knew a week ago. So if you hadn't caught that, I do recommend listening to it, mainly because I'm on it, so it's good.
Yeah, right. Don't
it's
listen
called
to the
The
other
House
ones.
of Pod again.
I'll listen to the ones with Alyssa and Arghavan. That's it.
It's hard to believe he has episodes without us, actually, because, I mean, how is that? How do you even do it? I don't know.
I barely do.
Yeah, I've heard. Anyway, so basically what we wanted to do today was start with an update because Kaveh and I had that conversation last week. Alyssa and I had another conversation a few days ago. So if you didn't catch that episode and want to hear what's happened from, say, Sunday-ish to Thursday of this past week, so from March 1st through whatever the date was, 4th, 5th, whatever, I can't count. Again, words, counting, not my thing. That's why I have a
promised
podcast.
there'd be no math on this podcast, so don't expect me to help you with this.
You didn't prepare for the calculus portion?
I did not, no.
Okay, all right. We'll give you a pass, just this time, though. Anyway, so today we're going to focus on what's happened from Thursday to Sunday. But again, there are previous episodes if you didn't catch what happened before. And there are a few things I wanted to highlight. as like the key kind of headlines that have jumped out to me, at least, about what's been happening in Iran in the last few days. The biggest one probably is, to me, is that the US and or Israel, I think Israel actually has taken credit for most of these, has struck a number of oil refineries and oil depots around Tehran. And if you haven't seen these videos, I do recommend viewing at least one, just so you can grasp the magnitude of damage that's being done. And we'll put a link for sure in the show notes. But I mean, you can imagine, even if you haven't seen them, what it's like to strike oil with military force.
Yeah.
Obviously, huge explosion, fire, just black clouds into the sky. And they did this again in multiple locations around Tehran. Tehran has these gutters along the streets. I believe they're actually meant to hold water to water the trees that line the streets. But what ended up happening is that from one of these depots, the oil spilled into the gutters, and you actually see the flames not just at the refinery, but running down the streets of Tehran. And it's very dystopian and apocalyptic, even though we use those words a lot these days. But it really is, because you see like
Yeah.
motorcyclists and cars driving down this road while there's literally the road is on fire. And this morning, meaning Sunday morning, folks in Iran woke up to oily rain. Like it's literally raining oil now down on them. And so there's pictures of vehicles so that you can see like what's landing on the cars, and it'll be a white car that's practically black from the particles that are in the air. That's what people are breathing now in Tehran. And we know from things like 9/11 how toxic those kinds of particles are. And we have a city of over 10 million people who, those who haven't already left the city, are now breathing that air. And it was, Tehran has a significant pollution problem already, because the government really doesn't care to clean the air in any way. And so this is just adding to what was already a really bad
Yeah.
situation in terms of people's lungs. And anybody who had any chronic respiratory illnesses is likely experiencing significant exacerbations of that.
This is just making me think about, I was recently preparing a lecture I'm giving on AI and its impact on the environment and environmental ethics. And just hearing you talk about the catastrophic consequences of blowing up these, oil refineries or whatever they are.
Yeah.
And it's going to have long-term impacts for anybody who's exposed to it, and children in particular who have their lungs are not fully developed yet
Mhm.
are especially susceptible to that. We see bad pollution, smoke inhalation, things like that, really impacting cardiovascular and pulmonary health, as well as a bunch of other indicators for kids. Plus, being in a war, it's traumatizing and it's bad for everybody.
It's almost like war is bad.
I'm
Yeah,
starting to
I
think. I'm
I'm
starting.
I'm not for it myself.
I might even say I'm against it. I don't wanna I
Lie.
don't send me letters, folks, okay? Sorry, no emails. Um,
It's
but
quite
I
the
have
limb
this
you went out on there.
I know I'm a real daredevil. I have the same actual thought. The first time I started seeing this stuff, I was obviously, we're always worried about the immediate casualties and deaths, and we've already seen that. That's already happening. But I also think to the future, like long-term health complications, and when we saw the death toll rise in Gaza, for example, one of the first things that I started to think about was the things you don't see. The people that are going to be missing, regular people who are not being killed by bombs, but are going to be affected by lack of healthcare access, who
Mhm.
are going to not be getting their medicine, not getting their chemotherapy, who are going to be getting exposed to all this toxic stuff that's in the air and that they're being exposed to in the water now. This long-term stuff, not to mention, as you very astutely pointed out, the long-term trauma that this is going to leave to a generation of youth. No, it's absolutely terrible. It does seem apocalyptic at times, and there are, from what we hear from people, what limited stuff we're able to get from friends and family over there, there's parts of the city that are just leveled, and it's just it is a horror show. The other thing that you mentioned, I felt like I have to bring up, because I've seen people say, like, why isn't everyone left the city?
Mm.
Some people
Where's
can,
where's everyone gonna go?
but yeah, and that costs money. This is the economy. Part of the reason we've gotten to this point is the economy is terrible right now. People don't have a lot of money. And right now, people have to like to go and live somewhere else, eat out all the time. That's a huge financial burden. And some of these people just can't do it. So what we've seen is that, yeah, a lot of people were able to leave Tehran, but some of those people have had to come back. Some of those people just can't be out that long. And so they come back, you know? So it is terrible. People always ask that, why don't you just leave? Why would you, if it's that bad? Sometimes you can't. Sometimes
Yeah.
you just can't
Well,
leave.
And people are working too, as weird as that sounds. Like
Yeah.
during the war, people still have jobs. They still have to try to pay their bills. It's not like they're, not the bills are going to stop coming in, that they're not going to need to pay for food anymore. They still have to figure out a way to make a living.
well, and Arghavan, when you and I were talking on the phone yesterday, you were telling me about people that you know where they were traveling abroad when all of this happened and they have to go home. And you're going like, it's a terrible time to be a not documented immigrant in the United States. So
Yeah.
where is it that people think everyone's going?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's worth spending just a moment on. Like, I don't know about you, Kaveh, but I definitely have multiple relatives actually right now who are in the US, who don't live in the US, but are here legally, just to be clear. But they were here for a vacation or a business trip. And the airport that serves Tehran was also bombed, and it's not clear, to be honest, what the extent of the damage is. I've seen videos of the explosions, but I haven't seen any after photos. It's hard for me to imagine that that airport is still functioning in any way. So,
Yeah.
how are people who just happen to be right at any given time? There are people who are outside of any given country. There are U.S. citizens who are right now in Europe or Asia or wherever
Yeah.
South America, and if something were to happen and we had like one main airport, if we were a much smaller country than we are, how would those people get back? And so that's
Yeah.
another consequence of all of this. And I do want to go back just one last point on this oil is that the environmental impact
Yeah.
beyond humans, just on the world that we live in, is immense. I mean, that's true
Right.
for war in general. Like the explosion of bombs is horrific for the environment, and I see all these people being like, "Here I am sipping through my paper straw while our government is just throwing bombs,"
Yeah.
and so it's this oil, these attacks on these oil depots in particular are extremely damaging for the environment, and we're gonna be dealing with that. Specifically, the people in Iran are gonna be dealing with that for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And to your point, Kaveh, about healthcare, one of the other facilities that the again U.S. and or Israel bombed is the facility where they make a lot of medications in Iran. A lot of medications are not imported from outside. If you think about like a lot of
Yeah.
medications are made in the U.S., for example, Iran does not have any trade with the U.S., so they make a lot of their medications there, and that facility was bombed. That is, obviously not a military target. Another non-military target that has been bombed by our, meaning, U.S. and Israel's campaign, was a desalination plant that served approximately 30 villages. So that's a plant where they take salt water, right, and then turn it into drinking water. And that is clearly a civilian, that's an infrastructure to maintain civilian life and health that the U.S. and Israel attacked.
And if I may add, this was done in one of the worst droughts in modern history in Iran. It was already a terrible time in terms of Tehran thought they were going to run out of water. This was like the question that happened before. And now on top of that, the little access to clean water is now gone. And running through the water we've seen like water coming out of like pipes that is flammable. So this is a terrible, I mean, the callousness of these bombs has really bothered me. And I know war is always bad, it is, and I shouldn't be so surprised maybe, but I'm just it's just being done in everything, as with everything this administration does. And I'm sorry to get political about war.
We never get
um
political.
I imagine there's just the incredible cynicism of this administration that just don't give a, can I swear?
Mhm.
Don't give a darn. Sorry, ladies. Sorry. Got a real sailor's mouth here. And it just the sheer fact that they just couldn't care less about what happens there. And this whole and nonsense about like, we're doing this for the people. We're doing this for the the women, all whatever moving target that they say they're doing it for, that they're clearly just they're not.
I mean, if there's one thing that I know about American motivation, it is not the well-being of women.
Right, right.
Yeah, because, when they don't care about women in the United States, that's usually when governments go and protect women elsewhere, when they can't even
Right.
protect the women in their own country. We've known that to happen, right? That's just how it always is.
Yeah, that makes sense. Don't
Somebody to
Google
to
it,
that
don't
point,
Google
by
it.
the way, who was it? I don't know if I'll be able to find this right this minute, but one of the officials affiliated with our government said that, like, actually out loud, that we're going to seize all of Iran's oil. Whoops! Whoops! We didn't know it was about the
Yeah.
oil.
Is that Marco Rubio? I did hear that. I forget who said that, but yeah,
He
that
may have
came out.
also said it. The person I'm thinking of actually was, not Rubio. It was someone I had not heard. It's not like that level of
Right,
official.
right.
Um, I'll see if I can find it, and I'll put it in the show notes
Keith
for sure.
Kellogg? Is that who you're
That
thinking
could
of?
be. That could be. There was definitely someone who I was like, "Who even are you talking about we're gonna seize
Nothing
Iran's oil?"
good has come out of an American Kellogg. You can look back to the Kellogg
That's true.
medical history in this country. That's a different episode you guys should do at some point.
What about frosted flakes?
Oh, no, it's the same guy. He was a lunatic, Kellogg.
Oh, yeah. Well, he
Oh,
was
yeah.
he was the original wellness influencer,
That's
Arghavan.
right. That's
I'm just
exactly
saying,
right.
like,
OG.
I like Tony the Tiger. Gosh.
Yeah.
Well, that
Well, I
was a
mean, it was
great
very
marketing
impressive.
campaign.
Yeah, great.
Um,
Long
so
after the days of the Kellogg guy. Do you guys
so
Okay.
All right, we
go
won't
Yes.
talk
ahead.
about it. Sorry. No, I was gonna go on a tangent about graham crackers and masturbation and
It's
such
true.
What?
but
Oh, Arghavan,
listen, just don't worry
next
about it.
episode.
We'll do it
Okay, I
later,
don't know.
folks.
I don't know
We'll
the
do it later.
story. I think
But,
I don't
don't
know if
worry
I
about
wanna
it.
know the story.
We'll tell you all about it later. It'll be a whole
We're gonna we're
episode.
gonna really blow your mind and maybe your colon with that
Yeah,
story.
right.
Then I'll just head over to Kaveh. He can fix me up.
All
Yeah,
right.
here
So
for it.
here's the I found this quote. Keith Kellogg, the US Special Envoy for Ukraine, appeared on Fox News Thursday sharing his view of what the US should do as the conflict in the Middle East intensifies. Quote, "What I would hope that they do would really go take Krog Island." And I apologize if I'm not saying that correctly.
I'm not
It's
familiar
I
with it.
don't
I mean, listen, by the way, if you're g my pronunciation of about Farsi is probably, a tiny bit better than yours, but not by much. So I apologize to your listeners for that as
so
well.
it is a continental island of Iran and the Persian Gulf,
Hmm, not
16
familiar.
miles off the coast of Iran.
Huh.
Yeah, I don't think that was the one I was thinking of, but I'm obviously, like, I do think, look, just to be clear, I don't think that oil is actually the only thing going on here. But
Yeah.
I think it's silly to pretend it's not part of the equation, which is what some people
Sure.
were saying to me online, that I'm a moron and that has nothing to do with it.
Wait,
Um,
wait, wait, wait.
but
People were telling you that oil was not, at least in a small part, like some of the motivation for this. I
yes,
mean, whether or not it's the motivation for Trump, I think it's probably not the main motivation for Trump. But is it
yeah.
something his administration uses as a leverage for like getting Republicans on board and like getting that the financing for all this? Oh, I'm sure it's a part of that.
But I think it's also this response that Arghavan has gotten, I think, is a real indicator of how effective greenwashing by oil companies has been
Mm,
in this effect of like, just trying to make it so that they're not constantly seen as these villains.
Yeah.
right,
No, we're fine. Oil's no big deal. We don't even need
right.
to talk about it.
I have
Dummy.
to,
That's
I have
right.
to tell
That's
you.
right. And
So
it's not even part of the conversation. What kind of pose I would bring that up right now? Um,
I have to
okay, wait.
Wait,
Go
if
ahead.
I
Go ahead.
may, I have to tell you the oil
Yeah.
thing is fascinating to me because oddly enough, I have not really done that much of a deep dive into Persian history. Um, I know the stories. I've read a little bit more than the typical person. I definitely know
Mm,
more than the average American. But, since this started, I've gone on a deep dive and I've just like gone through all these books, all the Shah's men,
mm,
history of Iran, Empire of the Mind, uh, Persians, the Great Kings. These books are amazing. And I will tell you right now that the finding oil in Iran was one of the best and worst things, probably emphasis on worst things that happened to the country,
mm.
because that has been the root of a lot of Western involvement and
Yeah.
oppression and subterfuge has been all about this oil. Nothing seems to change. The more I learn about history in Iran, the more I learn it's just absolutely. I wouldn't even say it's rhyming. It's just repeating at this point. It's just like the same
Yeah,
verses
yeah.
again and again.
By the way, it's this guy. I don't know
I
who
can't
that
see him.
is.
He looks
It could be
very pale.
with someone. I will have to do some research on who this is, but he went on Fox Business. No one will be surprised at what channel it was that this person was on when they said this. What? What do you mean? So anyway, that's the piece about oil. But I do want to. I'm gonna text it to you, Alyssa. But in the meantime, I did want to also bring up a couple more points. So one is this is a briefer update that when we talked in both of these previous conversations that I've had on our pod earlier this week, and then with Kaveh, we talked about the school bombing in Minab,
Mhm.
and it was even as late as Thursday, still not totally clear, but I was more confident when I met with when we recorded on Thursday that it was the US that had struck that school, and now we
Mhm.
have even more reporting that says it was indeed the US, and not only that it was the US, but that there was more than one strike. One place I saw that there were 3, but there were at least 2 that's widely
Yeah.
reported that they hit the school, and then there was another strike either 30 or 40 minutes later, which is a tactic that the military uses to make sure that they basically can maximize damage because after the first strike, often folks will gather in a location together, and then they target that location.
Yeah.
So, um, I'm not saying that they knew there were children there, but it was clearly an intentional strike on that specific location. And there are theories around whether AI was used in selecting this, whether the data the US military
Yeah.
was working with was over 10 years old and had indicated that that building was part of the IRGC military base. Because at some point many years ago it was, but it hadn't been for over 10 years.
Right.
Neither of those possibilities reflects very well on our military. Um, yeah, go ahead,
It
Kaveh.
yeah, sorry, but this one, I mean, this is if there was one thing that's stuck in my brain that I can't get out, and it's the images of a school being bombed in Iran, and I'll never get over that. And it just goes to show you how deeply unserious the people in charge of this country are. Any of those options are true. I don't think that they did it on purpose to blow up a school. I think and only because the optics of it are so bad that even, like, the most callous person in the Trump administration would have to know that's a problem. But the fact that either it was, like, some sort of weird AI error or more likely that they were using outdated maps and they still did the bombing, the double tap, which anyone who read The Hunger Games, by the way, it's in The Hunger Games. That's a tactic they use in The Hunger Games at the end of it's a long story. Anyways, um, but, like, anyone who, like, would have done that seriously in a serious way should have avoided that. And this was the first day. This wasn't even in the fog of war where we don't know what's going on anymore. This was the tax that they had some time to plan and approach. And
Mhm.
that's what they chose to do. It shows you how little they care about the rest of the world, especially the Middle Eastern world, the brown world. It drives me absolutely up the walls, bonkers, crazy, cuckoo bananas.
Yes, and what is also interesting is how many people outside of Iran and outside of the Iranian diaspora have expressed appropriate, righteous outrage about the U.S. Having killed almost 200 children, but didn't really care at all about the tens of thousands, including almost 200 children who were killed by the Iranian government 2 months ago. And they dare to lecture people like me about how I don't care about children in Iran when they were silent when that was happening, or I don't care about people in Iran when they were silent when that was happening. And I just want to call that out because we see that. We see you doing that. We understand that you're upset about the US and Israel, and you have every right to be, but you don't have a right to try to shame and judge those of us who have been here the whole time, caring about our people and being aware of what their own government is doing to them just because it doesn't line up with your agenda at this moment and your politics of being opposed to the US. Because guess what? I'm also opposed to the US. Like,
Yeah.
woohoo! The cat's out of the bag.
I I have to say it's pretty fun watching you get called a Zionist. That's pretty fun. That's
or
pretty fun.
or the comparisons to Dick Cheney. That's been great. I mean,
Yeah.
things have been said about me that have never been said before. It's been a time.
As far as I know, you never shot a man in the face. I will say this is really something
Don't
that
even own a gun, folks.
this is something that really bothers me. Sorry, Alyssa. I have a lot of venting to do.
I'm here for it.
Here is online, the social media, and I don't know how much of your listeners are deeply connected or tied in to what's happening online, social media, but it's been really frustrating for me to see the back and forth attacks of Persian content creators
Mm,
online. That really depresses me. I hate seeing this. I hate seeing. I mean, I don't agree with every Persian content creator and their take on what's
sure.
happening. I mean, Arghavan and I agree on a lot of things, but we don't even agree totally on all this stuff, and that's okay because we
Somehow we're
agree.
still friends.
And we agree on the important parts. There are some
I mean,
fundamental things that we care about. We care about what's happening in Iran to the Iranian people. We want to give the Iranian people a voice. We want them to have a voice more importantly than anything. And we're worried about what's going to happen to them. And seeing like all these people go back and forth, Iranian content creators attacking other Iranian content creators, going back and forth on this, it's driving me crazy. We're there's there's a lot of reasons to be angry and frustrated right now, and there are a lot of people to focus that on. And right now, there's right we're attacking each other. It's what it's going to do, and I'm afraid it's going to do. And maybe this is by design. It's going to make people want to tune out. It's
mm,
going to people be like the whole what happened with Israel in Gaza in the past. People are like it's too complicated. I can't deal with it. I don't know who's right and who's wrong. I'm done.
yeah.
And that's the last thing I want. I don't want people taking their eyes off of Iran. I want people staying tuned in. I do not want them to tune out no matter how complicated it is. And it is, it's not easy. It's not black and white. We like to have black and white things here in the United States, good versus evil, Jedi versus Sith, Lakers versus the Warriors, Warriors are the good. And like we like that sort of stuff, but we can't always have that. And we have to keep people tuned in to this. And so please, all I ask is two things. One, if you're a content creator out there, focus on the people who deserve your wrath. There's lots
Mhm.
of oppressors out there who deserve your wrath. Focus on them, not each other. Focus on the good people here, which are the Iranian people in Iran fighting. And please try to just continue to check in and tune in on this. Do not check out because it's too complicated. That's the only things I ask. And that's a lot, I know, but I do think it's super important.
I agree. And we did have that was one of the questions that came up. As we said, we're preparing for this episode, we asked folks what they wanted to talk about. And so one of them was not so much the fighting, because I don't know how many people outside our community are super tuned into that, but um, how to get accurate information, because people are understandably, I think, very concerned about propaganda. Propaganda, like, I think people in the US in particular are more aware of propaganda than probably in a really long time. And so they're rightfully questioning almost everything they see. And this was a good yet difficult question of like, how do I know what's a reliable source? And I think especially when you're talking about the social media space that you're just talking about, it's really hard because people I think are reliable, that I think actually we have a lot of overlap on, Kaveh. Someone else from our diaspora might come in and be like, "No, that person's a
Sure.
terrible source. Why would you
Right.
ever listen to that person?"
Right.
But in terms of news sources, and Alyssa and I have put this in our episodes before, I recommend that people try to get news directly from Iranian sources when they can. And I don't mean Iranian state media, to be clear, because that's going to be propaganda.
Right. That's
But
pretty actually, there is a certain bit of
Everything's fine here.
so it's actually pretty great. If you have the chance, you should watch some Iranian state media because it is hilarious and wild, like the way like they address the situation. We are doing so great. Everything is perfectly
I
under
mean,
control, and we are winning so hard.
it
It's
sounds like Fox News.
it's so great. It's
it's
so
like that,
great.
but it's worse. It's worse than you can imagine. Like, some people might have seen this clip, and if you saw this, you get a sense of it. There was a news person who had invited on the foreign minister, Iran's foreign minister, And this person, I don't know why he asked this, but he goes, "Well, Trump is now talking about a ground invasion. How do you feel about that?" And he's like, "It's great. We look forward to it." And the guy was like, "Huh?" And then
Yeah.
he goes, "Aren't you like worried about a ground invasion?" And he's like, "No, we feel
Yeah.
very good about our chances. We have prepared for this." And a lot of people who saw it were like, what did he think he was going to get as the answer? Did he not understand? Like, these folks in this regime, they are masters of bravado. Did he think they were going to say, "Oh no, please don't do that. We're
Was it
scared"?
gonna they're gonna be like, "Wait, they're really gonna do that?"
But
Yeah.
did they offer to pay the bill for the ground troops?
I don't think America would Tarof very well on this one.
I
I
think
think Tarof, the
Trump would be like,
concept of
"Yes,
Tarof
please, here
would
you
make
go. It's
Trump's brain
$1 billion a day."
explode.
Sorry.
Trump couldn't understand the concept of Tarof. It would make his brain melt. He
Yeah,
couldn't
yeah.
handle that.
I'm
Could not
okay
wrap.
with trying it.
It's worth a shot. It's like in those old you know what it's like? You probably didn't watch it, but in like the old Star Trek, original Star Trek, every now and then there'd be an
Excuse me.
episode
How dare you? Of
where
course I
like
did.
Kirk would like run into like a computer, and the computer he had to beat the computer. He had to like ask something like, "What is love?" And the computer would be like, "Beep boop boop, I don't understand," and explode. And you'd have to be the same thing with Trump. Be like, "What is generosity?" And he'd be like, "Blah, blah, 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 blah." His brain would blow up.
Okay. So continuing on our little tour of updates, this does connect to a point I wanted to make around what the rhetoric is from the U.S. government lately and what problems that might be causing. And the first one I'm going to point out connects back to what you said, Kaveh, about the attacks on the schools showing just how little the U.S. government cares. And by the way, like, there's not been an apology from
Yeah,
anyone about
yeah,
that or an acknowledgement that
yeah.
maybe they were working
Hegseth
with
is looking
outdated data.
into it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Anyway, so Hegseth said, "To our steadfast partner, Israel, your mission is being executed with unmatched skill and iron determination." And I want to share that
Hmm.
because a lot of people are like, wait, so it's just confirmation of something that Rubio actually said before, that this is not the US's war, this is Israel's war, and we are subservient to Israel and their goals in this war. I'm not saying that, I'm just saying that that's what, between this quote and what Rubio said about how the reason we attacked Iran was that Israel was going to attack and there was going to be a counterattack. And so we figured we would be part of the counterattack. So we might as well be part of the attack. And you know what I'm saying? So that
Uh-huh.
there does seem to be this narrative rising, which I think doesn't sit well with a lot
Uh-huh.
of US citizens, including those in the government. And related to that, I want to say one more thing about Hegseth, and I want to hear your responses. He was asked about Russia and whether Russia is helping Iran or if he's worried about Russia wading into this war and supporting Iran because they have long been allies. And he said, "The only ones that need to be worried are Iranians that think they're going to live."
Yeah. Yeah, that was a weird one. That was a really weird one, very telling. It wasn't like, again, it goes to show he doesn't look at the IRGC versus Iranian people. He sees
Mm-mm,
Iran as one monolith over there of like angry brown, and that's
mhm,
all he cares about,
mhm.
and that's all he wants. Yeah, that I have to say I heard him say that, and I was chilled. I really
Well,
did
because
not
he
enjoy that.
he announced he wants a genocide.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, and I don't think we're reading too much into that. Like, he is a dum dum, and he doesn't think carefully about what he says. I think that's clear. But I think at his point, he is used to communicating with people on TV. He knows there's certain things that you can and cannot say, and when you go to that point, he's basically, and the crowd loves it. I think his like base still love it. I mean, the Republican Party is still on board. They're on board.
Well, I don't know, to be honest. I mean, even Megyn Kelly, who Alyssa and I have talked about on our show, we're not fans, just to be clear. But she's
Really?
been, I know, can't imagine why. She's like, 15-year-olds are adults, no problem. Anyway,
Yeah, right.
she has been very vocally against this war. Piers Morgan, who's not in the US, but like he's also
Yeah.
been like, what are y'all doing? What are you doing hitting a school? Um, I mean, Nick Fuentes, just to go
Nick
there, hold on
Fuentes.
one
Yeah,
second.
sure.
Nick Fuentes is like, "I've had it with this administration. We all need to vote for the Democrats." Like, literally, that is what he said. We all need to vote for the
Yes,
Democrats
he
in the next
says that
election.
now. He says at first. I saw that Nick Fuentes piece when he said that, and I mean, oh boy,
I
that's
mean,
weird.
he's a wackadoodle, so
Yeah,
I'm not.
Nick Fuentes is a white nationalist creep for sure. So there's,
Yeah.
but I honestly, the difference between the people on the far right and the right in general, and the people that are not, are that when it push comes to shove, they are going to stand together.
Yeah.
And when push comes to shove, Nick Fuentes is going to vote for whoever Republican comes in. Um, so I don't feel strongly about it. In this the polling so far shows Republicans are on board, but yeah, I mean, is it really polling? I don't know, because it certainly doesn't seem to fit like the thought leaders. The
Mm,
thought leaders seem to be against this, but how that shifts over time and how the Republican Party goes, I'm pretty cynical about that myself now. So I don't. We'll see what happens with the
yeah.
midterm elections. I think it'll be really an interesting, very telling, and I'm very hopeful about that. But I'm also not going to be shocked if the line holds and they totally stay on board.
Yeah. Okay, I know we really wanted to get to some listener questions, so let me try to wrap this up. Couple of other key points though. One that we don't really have to spend too much time on is that Iran did announce the new supreme leader to replace Khamenei, and drum roll please, it's his son. Wow,
How
what a
weird.
change. Yeah.
Nepotism.
Yeah. Okay, so I do want to just make one point about this, which is that actually Khomeini, so the first supreme leader of Iran, the guy who was in charge after the 1979 revolution, was very explicitly opposed to hereditary succession. And that is supposed to be a key tenet of this like Islamic revolution that happened in Iran, is that it was going to be distinct from having a king, right?
Right.
And having a monarchy, in that there would not be hereditary succession. And yet,
See,
here we are, where
but it just
somehow
works so well.
it just works
I
so well.
mean,
There was
we
no
need
one else.
someone and we need him fast. So I guess we'll take this
And
guy.
he's still alive at the moment, unlike some of the other folks. But the thing I want to just mention for folks who aren't aware is that in Iran, the supreme leader is seen as a representative of God and
Yeah.
as like a conduit to God. That's part of why it's not supposed to be like someone's kid, because that's not a. I mean, we can laugh about this, but
Hereditary.
it's not a hereditary
Godliness is
trait
hereditary.
to
You
be
know
a
that, right?
conduit to God. So it was supposed
No.
to be like our government here loves to talk about meritocracy. It was supposed to be a meritocratic method of choosing like this supreme religious leader based on their scholarship and their blah blah blah, their how close they are to God, blah blah. I mean, like obviously none of that is real, but that's what it's supposed to be,
Uh,
and they're just throwing all of that away to pick
man,
the last guy's son.
I for one am shocked that the Islamic regime has not picked the best person for the gig. That's wild to me. By the way, I should say on it's Sunday night we're recording this. There is a little bit of reporting out there, and it hasn't been validated yet, but that he might have been injured in the attacks, and how well he is at this point isn't quite clear. He is somebody that is probably going to be carrying along the hard line. That's probably what we're going to see. We're not going to see any change. There was a little bit of discussion of like, ooh, could they maybe pick like a moderate, like reformer or something, like one of the former presidents? But it seems unlikely. He is an interesting guy in that he is, apparently fluent in English. He did psychology and studied psychoanalysis, and he's like very modern, etc. But I mean, what that means, probably very little. At the end of the
No,
day,
I
he's
mean, I
probably
think
the figurehead.
people expect that he's going to be even more harsh than his father was. And he,
Yeah.
by the way, is
Who
a
killed his whole
grifter.
family. Yeah, he's not gonna be great about it.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
we have a government run by a bunch of people that supposedly also went to college. So I don't know. I mean, I just
Right.
don't think that in and of itself is like this indicator.
That's a
No,
good
but
point. Good point.
he has really exploited the wealth of the country to his own personal benefit in ways that even
Very American.
yes, it's
You're
very,
right.
very
We're so alike. Why are we fighting? We have so much
Who
in
did it best?
common.
yeah, I
Yeah.
Yes,
mean,
Us Weekly addiction.
I think
Right.
Iran
Right.
mastered the oligarchy before the US did. They were
Uh,
really like ahead of the game on that one.
yeah.
It's just a religious or oligarchy, or at least on the surface of it, superficially.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the concern is he's probably going to be worse than his father was. Yay
Right.
for the people of Iran! Thank you, U.S. and Israel for having helped us get to this point. Um, I will say there were, to your point about his injuries, there were multiple reports that he was dead.
Yeah.
Um, they were wrong, I think,
Right.
although we haven't seen proof of life. But
Yeah.
he
Not
could,
dead yet.
yeah, but he could
It's
become
just a flesh wound.
Yeah, no, thank you.
anyway.
Mostly dead. He's mostly dead.
Trump has said that this is not his preferred person to be the
Oh.
next leader in Iran. Not that anyone
As
really
if he
cares.
knows any names of any of these people. He
Well,
knows
he
none
did
of them.
say, you probably saw this, but he did say that like the people he had hoped or who he had in mind for potential next candidates
Yeah.
were all people he killed in the initial
Yeah.
strike. So, who knows who those people were or whether they would have been like any good at all. But anyway, more incompetence all around from our government. Okay, I want to say two more things. One is the Iranian US women's soccer team has
Mm.
been in Australia playing in a tournament called the Asian Cup. The first match, the opening match that they had in this tournament, the team did not sing the national anthem while it was playing. And that is a great offense to the Islamic Republic of Iran. Um, State television broadcast a message saying that they were traitors during wartime and that they needed to be punished severely for their treason. And Sunday in Australia, which they're ahead of us, so it happened probably actually like a day ago now, but for us. But anyway, so they played their last match Sunday and they got onto this bus. They're supposed to somehow make their way back to Iran with the whole airport situation, whatever. I don't know the logistics, but on the bus, as they're leaving, multiple of these women are seen making the international signal for distress and SOS, which is this for people who are seeing this on video. And then if you're not, it's your palm facing that other person, your thumb crosses over, and then your four digits make a fist over your thumb. So multiple, you can see them through the windows, multiple of these women making that signal, and there's a crowd around them saying save our girls and like wanting to protect them as the bus is driving away. And there's calls in Australia to get the politicians to do something to
Yeah.
prevent them from being taken back because they risk detention and they risk honestly because of this whole wartime thing, we need to be punishing people more severely. They are at risk of being executed for, I
I
mean, it's,
mean, literally just a few weeks ago, they were executing just tens of thousands of people. Like, why would we think that those girls are going to be able to go back there and like live their lives?
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's another story that we're obviously watching closely, and I'm very, very concerned for the safety of these women.
God, I hope Australia does the right thing and keeps them.
Well, even do they have a chance, because there's been stories that they've been, that there's like somebody from the IRGC embedded with, or at least from the regime embedded in their, not their team, but their
Well,
kind
I'm
of
sure they have a
entourage.
handler. They must have a couple.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're not even allowed to talk to people. I just saw a video today actually of a woman who's a soccer fan in Australia. And she said the only way she can see any of these players is if she goes and sits in their hotel lobby and she can wave at them while they walk by because the Iranian government will not let them talk to anyone, even people they may personally know, right? Friends who they have in the country.
Wow.
So their movements are tightly controlled. So I genuinely don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's so scary. I mean that and it's so sometimes it does take a couple of human stories like that to bring people into it. Like there is this component of like Americans are able to sort of tune out when they hear that we're bombing a country.
Mhm,
We've been doing it for
Well,
so
because we've been
long.
doing it our whole lives.
Yeah.
mhm.
So it's easy to tune out. Like, I mean, making the stories real is like incredibly important. Maybe we'll get lucky and Ben Affleck will do a movie about it and people will care, Like that's all we can hope for because like we do need to like have somebody like we need stories like this that will show people the human component of what's
Yeah,
happening.
and it's so hard to get those stories because no one's allowed to get into Iran except for,
Yeah.
as we were talking about, I think before we started recording, one CNN guy, and who knows, what they're approving of him to share with the world.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
okay, the last thing I want to say before we get into at least hopefully a couple questions is something that Trump said, and I want to play you this audio. This was within the last couple of days. It's very short. Don't
I'm gonna
worry.
hate it, aren't I?
It's not
Yeah.
great. Okay, it's a very short clip.
And do you think the map of Iran looks the same after this is all done?
That I can't tell you. Probably not.
Iranians.
That's it. So, yeah, understandably. So he's asked, "Will the map of Iran change after all this?" And he said, "Well, I don't know, but probably is not gonna be the same," essentially. And that the reason I wanna highlight that is, I've talked before, and Kaveh and I have talked too about how some Iranians have been so desperate with the current regime that they have that they thought, okay, maybe if an outside source can destabilize the regime, maybe that gives us an opportunity to overthrow the regime. Not because they think the US is going to do it for them or that the US cares about them at all, but that they just don't have resources themselves. I mean, they've tried many times out in the
Yeah.
streets with their voices and rocks, and all that's happened is they've gotten killed. So, um, what I've said before is that I don't think bombing like IRGC military sites is going to make the average Iranian more supportive of their government, which I understand. People that really upset people when I said that. People called me lots and lots of names, said I didn't know anything about history, and it's not like it's happened every single time in every other country, and so on. And I'm not
I'm
disagreeing.
sorry. So the response is not all men?
Yeah. The response was, "You're a moron," as per usual. But basically, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But what the reason I said what I said is I know, and Kaveh knows, a lot of us know how much Iranians, the majority of Iranians, hate that regime. So you go in, whoever you are, you could be an ally of Iran, you could be anybody, and you take out the people who are responsible for tormenting them, or at least their bases. I don't see how that makes people rally around the government that's been killing them. That's all I said. But apparently
Yeah.
that was like totally ludicrous and ahistorical. Anyway, that calculus changes once you start doing things like they're doing, attacking these oil depots, the desalination plant, the pharmacy, or the drug manufacturing facility. And then you say, we're going to also take your land.
Yeah.
And
That,
by the way, we're down with genocide.
well, yeah,
Totally fine with it.
also that.
So,
Um,
I mean, but this is the thing, right? I'm like, I also don't understand people who are like, oh, but now they're going to love Americans. And I'm like,
Oh,
are
yeah, that I
you
don't think is
what?
gonna happen. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I think that's also part of what happened to me, by the way, is that people made an assumption that when I said I like waffles, I hate pancakes. Nope, nope. Talk about waffles separate from talking about pancakes. So if I say, "No, I don't think it bombing IRGC military bases is going to make the Iranian people rally around the Islamic Republic of Iran," that does not mean I think they're going to rally around the US. Like, that's not likely to happen either. But anyway, my point is just that if it seems as it does based on that clip at least that the US is interested in breaking up the country in some way, taking some of the land away, then now Iranian people, I think on the whole, are going to be like, no, no, the fuck you won't.
it
Um,
it shows such little care and knowledge about the history of the Middle
mhm.
East and the Western involvement in it. I can't imagine he knows about how the lines of the Middle East and countries were drawn after World War II. I'm sure he has no idea what Churchill's hiccup is. I'm sure he doesn't care about any of these things, but people there will. And the fact that he doesn't understand that tells you like how unserious this is. And I'm gonna remain hopeful because it's easier for my brain that something good could potentially come out of this for the Iranian people. But I've seen our track record. I've seen the Western powers' track record when they get involved in Iran and also in the Middle East in general. And it's very concerning. It is very concerning to me. I will be the first, maybe not the first, but I will be one to begrudgingly hand it to him if something good comes out of this. I mean, it won't forgive the approach and how many innocent people got hurt from this. But if something good were to come out of it and, Iran were to have a quote unquote democratic election, things were to work out in favor of the Iranian people, you know, that's something we have to at least credit him for and understand. But the thing is, when you come at it with this perspective, we're like, yeah, maybe the maps will get drawn differently. Who cares? What's the big deal? Like, we'll just change a line here and a line there, and whoever lives here is obviously now going to be over there, and they'll clearly all be fine with it. No one will mind. I mean, it tells you how little they care about the actual history of what's happened and how it brought us to this point. how Western involvement in drawing lines in the Middle East has created so much conflict and got us to the point we're at right now.
Mhm.
And that part really bothers me.
Mhm. Yep. So on that note, should we answer some listener questions?
Yay.
Absolutely. And I'm ready to read some of them to
All
you.
right, let's do it.
All right. Um, well, one person had asked, what do you wish the average American knew about Iran? And the two of you have obviously dropped a lot of knowledge. But like tell me something lovely that like every American should know about Iran.
Arghavan, you want to go first?
Sure. So Iranians love poetry. I'm probably not like the best example, but in general, because I'm like not that. You see how bad I am with words. Anyway, Iranians, like we have I mean, obviously, such a long and rich history of philosophers and poets, writers, and our people get quoted all the time, on inspirational whatever notepads and whatever,
Right.
and that's embedded into like the fabric of our entire society. I was just at an event today because Persian New Year is coming up, as we've talked about before, and they have this fair every year that is helping people prepare for New Year's. And so there's certain things that you need to have for your half scene, which is a table. We could talk about that anyway. There's all these things, and they have like artwork, and they have jewelry, and they have food. I was there selling jam that my mom made from the fruits in her yard,
Nice.
and then she signed me up for this job of selling them. Anyway, so there was an artist there who had these paintings that they had made with Persian rugs, like tactile pieces of Persian rugs, and then sayings that are written. I mean, if people have definitely seen our script, it's gorgeous. Like you see it on mosques, for example. It's just beautiful. But that means you can't really read it all that well, just like my necklace. Like this is Farsi, but even people who speak Farsi and write Farsi can't really read it. And so I would ask, like, what does it even say on this thing? And it's always some like elaborate thing. I have walked the earth to find you, my tiny piece of gold, and whatever. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
remember exactly what it was, but it's like very
There's a
romantic
there's
and
a
poetic.
floweriness to the language
Yeah.
that that is unparalleled. There's like poetry in everyday speech.
Yes.
Like when you miss somebody, it's not just I miss you, it's my heart tightens when you're not there.
Hmm.
When your friend wasn't at a party, it's not like, "Oh, dude, we missed you, man. It would have been great if you're there." It's your space that we held for you was empty and we kept
Yeah.
it there empty. These are the little things that we say that it seeps into the everyday like vernacular and that's in our brains. So yeah, and every
Yeah.
Iranian man thinks he's a poet. So I mean, I don't know if it's true for Iranian women as much, but every Iranian man thinks he's a poet, and so there is something deep in the core of
There's also
Iranians
like
that
one
way.
expression of warmth is it's like an I love you, but it's I would sacrifice myself for you. And
Yeah.
it's not like you save these things for special occasions. It's
No,
just
you
like
see a
how
dog
you
that's
talk.
cute, you're like, I would die for you.
Mhm. Mhm.
You'll say that you'll hear people say like a baby. We'll show them a baby and they'll be like, I would give my life for you right now. And it sounds like not dark when they say it too, which is what's
Yeah.
funny. It's like really sweet and like it's not like that heavy. It's like really like fun and like light in a way. And so yeah, no, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
From
Excellent.
for me, I think Iranians are really proud and they really want people to know their history because we've been largely written out of the
Mhm.
history book. Our contributions have been massive from everything from high heels to neurosurgery. Iranians, like ancient Persians, were like the first people to do that, and they don't get credit for that. I'm going to tell you something right now. It's going to blow your mind. The first pizza was the Achaemenid Empire. Soldiers in the Achaemenid Empire were the first people to develop pizza. They would have their fires. They'd all be out. The soldiers would be out. They'd have a fire. They'd put two poles. They'd put their shield over it. They'd put the bread out. It wasn't like pizza as you know today. It was like a little bit of like feta cheese and dates, and they put it over there. But the concept of a pizza was there. The first evidence of noodles was actually probably from the Persian Empire. These are little things, and people are going to go crazy. You have like an Italian listener right now who's about to lose his mind, but they're just going to have to trust me on this and Google it. Little things like that. We're written out of history, and like people are now starting to realize the first beer that was ever fermented on purpose was in near the Zagros Mountains. Where was it? Zagros Mountains? There's some mountains in Iran. Like, there's all these things that we were like a part of that like we totally got written out of, and Persians want you to know that. So like it's gonna
Yeah,
sound like
we're cool
we're
too, man. We're also cool.
yeah,
We did
you're gonna
cool
think it
things.
sounds like we're doing the whole big fat Greek wedding where they say Greeks did all this stuff, but we actually did, and you can Google it, and it's there. Like, I swear to God, this is an example. Like a couple of weeks ago, or maybe longer, I'm sitting around and someone talks about goats because the movie Goat came out with like Steph Curry's movie Goat, and I was like, you know what? Wonder what the story with goats is. And I pull up the Wikipedia page and I'm just looking up goats. And you know where they were first domesticated? Ancient Persia. I'm like, we domesticated goats. We gave you people goats. And I'm like,
You're welcome.
it's just so random, like the stuff like that. So we're like super like, so anyways, that's something people should know is that we're very proud of our contributions to the world. And we feel that we've been written out and we're trying hard, many of us, to push that now and to show that. I actually have a new podcast coming out that's going to be just about that. It's a separate podcast. I'm sure Arghavan, you're going to come on at some point. And I have Shaheen Davari from the show Survivor. He's going to be doing it with me. It's going to be a fun show. So we'll be doing that as well as, of course, the House of Pod. So that's what I would say.
Is that what all those? And is that what all those books are for? You're
No,
prepping.
this is just for me to finally learn what the hell happened to Iran. Really now. So
wonderful. So we Arghavan and I have talked before about the internet blackout, and I've read a little bit about these like white SIM cards. These are clearly big effects on freedom of speech and propaganda. Like, what should people know about those or about that blackout?
That's a good question, Arghavan.
I think it's important for people to know that this is part of the propaganda that we were talking about before. The government in Iran shuts down the internet anytime there's discord, and that prevents a few things. It prevents the people inside Iran from telling their stories and getting any narratives out about what's actually happening on the ground, or at least it prevents to a great extent. Some people are able to use VPNs, satellites, other methods to get around the internet blackout, but it's a very small proportion of people. And so they're basically just squashing people's voices, silencing people so that they can put out whatever they want, via their state sponsored media or journalists. On the rare occasion that they let in people like the CNN journalists, they still have veto power over anything these folks make. And so they're controlling that too. And that's powerful. In an information age, they have, by shutting down the internet, they have complete control almost of the narrative about what's happening. So they can push out their propaganda, and it's very, very hard to counter it.
And it seems like the IRGC really infiltrates every industry, every aspect of Iranian life. And so it seems like being able to overcome that is extremely difficult.
Yeah. I mean, it's pervasive, and the fear of it is pervasive. And there's a good reason to be afraid. I mean, they'll disappear people. That's not an unheard of thing. They'll take people. They'll arrest
we
people.
saw
we saw what happened to protesters.
We saw all the dead bodies. I mean,
so people are afraid. I mean, and whether or not they all need to be afraid or not, it's hard to say. But they have ruled through fear, and it's worked very well. And people have stood up to it recently, been really bravely, and been murdered in the tens of thousands for it. So it's a challenge. And that kind of goes to another thing that like if people ask a lot, which is like, well, what should we be doing? And I think Arghavan would probably agree with me. We're just two voices in the diaspora, and we're probably not the same voices you would hear on a different podcast. Everyone has a different opinion. And what I think most of us should agree on is that what's important is getting internet access to those people so we can hear what's happening. I do have limited contact, partially because of the podcast. It's helped, with people abroad and people who are able to get around the blackout. And I hear from those people, but is it representative of the country? I can't say. I mean, it's just what I'm hearing. So we would love to hear it. We'd love to hear. I mean, are the majority of Iranians saying this is terrible and we're willing to do it? We're willing to go through it. That's one thing. It's not what I'm hearing, but I'm only hearing a limited sample. So that would be for me the most important thing is finding ways to work around the blackout.
Great. And on that note, are there any humanitarian organizations that folks should support that are able to currently help Iranians who are trying to survive these attacks? I know it's very early in this s- current situation, but are there any groups that you would recommend people look to?
It's a good question, Arghavan. I don't know if you know. I mean, I'm a big fan of Doctors Without Borders. I think they've done good work. They're solid. I know politically, not everyone will align with that, and there's going to be some issues. But I think in terms of big scale, like service, I think they've done a good job. But they have, to my knowledge, not been there at all. So
No, I would be
they're
surprised if
loud.
they're allowed to
Yeah,
enter. It's a great question, and I really love where it's coming from too. So shout
yeah,
out to the person who asked that question. There are organizations like Henga or Harana or Iran Human Rights that are organizations that track human rights issues in Iran. But to my knowledge, I don't think even Henga. I have to fact check myself on Henga, but the other two are not based in Iran. It's hard to do that work from inside
right.
Iran. You'd be shut down.
Yeah,
And I think this person wasn't even asking about that. I think they were thinking about like actual aid, right? How do we get food to people? How
right.
do we help people if they do want to leave? How do we help them get out? And one of the major challenges that every Iranian in the US has been aware of our whole lives is that there's no trade between the US and Iran. So there's no wire transfer, bank transfer. Getting money in and out of Iran when you are based in the US is really, really difficult, even when there's not a war. You kind of have to have a mediator who can go buy money on the black market and exchange it for you. And so
Yeah,
getting money to folks is I'm not personally aware if anybody listening to this has an organization that they think can help people financially in Iran, please let us know, but I'm not aware of an organization that is well publicized, that is able to do that, and part of it is because they would probably be at risk if they did and people knew that they did it, so it doesn't mean it doesn't happen, I'm just not
yeah,
personally connected to them, and they don't, I think, really advertise, because it's a risky thing to do,
right.
so basically, I appreciate the question, and I don't know that I have a great answer.
Yeah, I don't think anyone does. I don't
I
think
mean,
there
there
is
is
one.
Yeah.
the Red Crescent, which is the,
Iranian version of the
Iranian
Red
version
Cross,
of
yeah.
Red Cross, but again, I don't know how we would support them financially because they're
And
in
there
Iran.
is now stories that they aren't even really that they are actually contributing to numbers for the regime, and
It's very hard to
they've been
tell,
yeah,
and we've seen people wearing their, uniforms and saying regime propaganda, and it's not clear if
yeah,
they're people masquerading as Red Crescent or
right,
if that's the Red Crescent basically part of the regime. I agree,
yeah,
it's hard to know.
Okay. Well, we will keep our eyes and ears out for places that hopefully are going to figure out how folks outside of Iran can help support. Um, but I thought we would close on less of a downer question. And I've gotten the impression, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Iranians like to eat.
mm.
And so I was hoping we could talk a little bit about some Iranian foods. And like Nowruz is coming up. I know there's some very special holiday foods. Like, tell me what I got to eat.
Oh, man. This is you shouldn't have asked me this question. This is not a question you're gonna get a short answer. I'm okay. Alright.
All right,
Kaveh
how about
Hoda's
this?
I'm gonna
dissertation is
Top
coming.
okay,
top 3
so
Iranian
let
foods.
let me let me just put you this. This is my thought, and I'm gonna try and super simplify what I have and a ton of thoughts on. One, I will say this: I don't think Iranian sweets are the best. That's we do a lot of things really well. I know this is controversial,
No,
but
no, I
I
can't
don't
stand for
like
that.
rose water. I
I'm
don't
gonna
like.
be
Okay, just you have your time.
I know,
Um,
I'm just
but
Yeah,
warning
but
you, I will
but
be
Arghavan's gonna bring you a
responding
plate
to
of
that.
but
cookies.
I will tell you this. Our dinners, our lunches, our savory meals, our meals are on par with the best food in the world. If you talk to like some of the best chefs, like the people who know food, like they clearly love Persian food. It's like up there for them with like French or whatever, like they consider like the best food. So if you have the opportunity and here in the Bay Area, Alyssa, you do, you should go to a Persian restaurant. Now, this is not gonna be the case for everyone. So, I mean, for you out there, you're gonna have to Google some recipes. Samin Nosrat has a couple of great cookbooks. Um, Bet Menglige, I'm not saying I got her name right, but she has a famous book called The Food of Life.
Mhm.
She's a very interesting lady. Her 2 sons are, like, these really cool twin gay guys who one of them is in the band Vampire Weekend, the other one is a film director. They're very cool, very talented family, and she wrote a very famous cookbook, so you're stuck there. But if you have the opportunity to go to a Persian restaurant, I would say there's 2 things you should probably get between you and whoever you're there with, hopefully. One of you should get the chicken, the juje kebab, which is like the chicken thighs. They're marinated overnight usually. It's really simple. It comes with rice and there's lots of ways to eat that and there's lots of things to ornament it with, but that's like one of the main ones. And the other thing to get, which is kind of like the bread and butter of a good Persian restaurant, is a dish called kubide, which is either a mixture of ground beef and lamb or just ground beef. And it is like ground beef on a skewer and it's charbroiled and it's absolutely delicious. And if you do those 2 things, you're going to be in good shape. And you can do lots of other things. There's lots of other options. But if you do those 2 things, that's kind of a good introduction to Persian food. All right.
Excellent. Well, I did
Give me
just look up
yourself.
Samin Nosrat's 10 essential Persian recipes, and I will put a link to it in the show notes for anyone who wants to
Yeah.
try.
She's great. She's great.
Okay, so
All right.
Khanum Badmangilish, her name is Najmiya Badmangilish. That's the other book that he was talking about. That's the author. So this is interesting. Okay, this bear with me for a moment. It's gonna be short, but it's a little detour. There is a book, a cookbook for any Farsi readers out there. You will already know this, but it's Kitab Khanum Montazemi. So Montazemi is the name of the person, and it's a woman who wrote. I mean, this is like the Bible for every Persian cook, really. She has every recipe for any Persian food you have ever heard of, including the sweets that Kaveh doesn't like because he has bad taste. We're gonna come back to that,
I'm
but
just being honest.
well,
Let's call it what
I
it
just
is.
because you haven't
Rosewater
had
stinks. Rose Every Persian person tries to be like, "Oh, you haven't had it done right. You need the right mixture of rosewater." Ugh. I'm
okay,
sorry.
put a
Okay,
pin in it.
I'm
My
gonna
turn.
hit.
My
Okay,
turn.
you're right. You're right. You're right. You're right.
So,
Sorry.
anyway, so this Kitab Khanim Montazemi, as far as I know, there is not an English translation. So if any enterprising person out there is in the book world, like I do
Oh,
think that's a major opportunity. Translate
yeah.
that thing into English. It will sell like bonkers. But in the meantime, I believe Najmiya Badmangili's kind of created part of the reason she created that book was a version in English. It's not nearly as thorough as the
Yeah.
book that I'm talking about, but it's a good, basic go-to for anyone looking to get into Persian cooking. Okay. Um, just to give you a sense, anytime I talk to my mom, how do I make da da da? She's like, well, what does it say in the Kitab al-Khanim Montazami? I'm like, I don't know because you know that I don't read Farsi fast enough to be able to figure that out. So why don't
Yeah.
you tell me? Look it up in your copy. Let me know. So that's how it goes. Especially with as is obvious the older generation who grew up in Iran. Okay, I do want to make a point about the sweets. Yes, I do think that they're not necessarily for everyone with U.S. tastes.
Sure.
There is, as Kaveh was alluding to, like a lot of Persian sweets have rose water in them, and some people are
Aromatics and
like,
stuff. Yeah.
why do I want roses in my
Yeah.
dessert? That's weird.
Oh,
Um,
see, and I love a rose flavor, so I love Persian
Mm.
food that has rose
you know what?
flavors.
I am with
Got
you
good news for
100%.
you, sister. You're gonna love it.
So that is one thing, but not all of them have that. So, as I told you last week, Kaveh, like, our family and our friends make Persian New Year cookies every year, and we make a lot of different kinds. So there's the rice flour cookies that I mean, do you really not like even the rice flour cookies with the poppy seeds?
Listen, this is the most American thing about me. I do love my dessert.
Oh.
I think I hear what you're saying. It's a really good point. It's like it is really they're delicate, they're interesting. I just have a very American
You have
palate.
American taste.
I,
Okay, what
but I
about
will say Persian food is universal. I mean, that's
okay, but
everyone will
what
like
about
that.
nokhodi? You don't like nokhodi either?
Which one's that?
That's the chickpea flour one that is like
No. No. I mean, it's fine.
It
I'll
like just
eat it.
melts in your mouth.
Someone will give it to me at a party and be like, "Oh, you're gonna love this." I'll be like, "Oh, yeah,
Okay. That one doesn't even have any rose water. It's just
mm."
cardamom, butter, flour, sugar. I mean, like,
I
what
know, but it
more?
doesn't.
See, that's the other thing is I love
Me
cardamom,
too.
so it's great.
Listen.
Well,
It's
You're gonna love.
Iranian
Have her try
specifically.
the duel
Listen,
as well.
I
While
have
you're
already been to the cookie party
Yeah.
at
right.
Arghavan's friend's house, and I, like, walked away. I got a whole container of the rice cookies and the seeded cookies, and they were fabulous.
Yeah.
See?
Hey, that's
See?
great. Yeah.
Listeners, Alyssa knows what she's talking about. Kaveh sometimes does, but not on this point. Just give
I
us a
know my
chance.
food. People, I know
Um,
my food.
huh?
I know my food. Look at me. I'm a large mammal. I know food.
All right. Anyway, I'm just saying there's there's the rice flour cookies, there's two different chickpea cookies that we make. And then the second one, I bet you actually have never had the second one. It's much more less common. It's called bereshtuk and nohodji. Anyway,
Yeah.
maybe if we ever meet up in real life, since we don't live that far
We
from each
have.
other, I'll
We've
give
met
you.
up in real life.
It's true. I meant
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
in the future.
Yeah. Okay.
So bereshtuk and nohodji. We have the raisin cookies. The raisin cookies are actually like pretty American palate friendly. They're
Sure, I've
just
had them. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And you don't like those either?
They're fine. They
Okay,
don't. I mean, I'm never like craving them. I never see
Okay.
them on a plate. I'm like, oh well, I'm gonna ruin my diet for that. No. If I see like a bowl of cookies and cream, I'm gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna have to do
Okay.
that. Yeah, yeah.
Raisin cookies. What else? We have. I bet you've never had gandomi, but I think just based on what you're saying, I don't think that would matter for you. I don't think you really love
Yeah.
them that much. There's the walnut cookies, the almond cookies. I'm
I do
guessing
like
you
the
don't like
walnut
those.
cookies.
You do
That
like the walnut cookies.
I do like. There's an almond cookie. It's an almond cookie. Sorry, there's an almond cookie. Like it's like the same concept, and I like that. And I like almonds a lot.
Okay, we found one thing. See, I told you it's not all
Sure.
bad. We found one thing
No,
that
no,
even
it's not all-
Kaveh
of
likes.
course, it's not all bad. I'm just saying there. Listen, I want credibility here, and for that reason, I have to call it. I have to call it as I sees it. And I
You
think
have to
our
live your
food is
truth,
up there.
Kaveh.
I have to live my truth, and I think I think clearly we do rice better than anyone. Sorry, the Japanese, but we do rice better than anyone out there. And then our savory meats and stuff. And also, I will say this. Speaking of that same author, how do you say her name? Batman
I
Glade?
think it's Batbangilish.
Batman Glige. She also has a new book. It's called June, Joon, which
Hmm.
means deer in Farsi. And it's a book she wrote for her sons and for younger generations of how to cook Persian food. And one of the great things about Persian food is it's really easy to make it as a vegan meal because there's no dairy that goes into it, and you don't have to do the things with meat. There's lots of legumes, there's lots of stuff you can do that are just as filling, give you all that protein, and you can have a really great Mediterranean diet with Persian food, particularly northern style Persian food, which is where my family's from. So
Mine too.
look at you, look, it's so fancy. Who's more gilaki here? I don't know. Um,
Masara, have you had some?
let's let's not do this let's not fight in front of the white lady.
Okay, wait. What I want to say real quick, I'm so glad you brought
Yeah.
up this vegetarian vegan point because Alyssa doesn't eat meat and neither do
I
I.
know.
Yeah.
Ha-ha.
Yeah. So it's great. It's perfect. I mean, so like it'll work. But then for that though, you don't get the stews, which are like really what Persians eat at home. You don't get that as good at most restaurants.
It's true. So the stews, this is a great point. Like we've talked many times about horma sabzi, which is one of our favorites, or fisinjun, which is another good one.
Yeah.
Those are generally, no offense to anybody who owns a Persian restaurant, they're generally like less good at a restaurant than they
Right.
are when you make them at home, mainly
Right.
because there's so many regional differences in how they're
Right.
made. And even like just your own family's
Right.
version of it that you grew up with is usually what you're wanting, if you're Iranian, of course. And then it's unlikely that the restaurant is going to make it exactly that same way. But it's not bad at a lot of places.
It's still worth trying, and you can get it vegetarian sometimes at the
Exactly.
restaurants. But
Exactly.
that's
there's
something you might want to
something-
make at home.
There's some like eggplant dishes that like there's one called mirza ghasemi, which is a northern specialty that's not
Yeah.
like everywhere, but if you see that on any menu, it's worth a try. It's eggplant, eggs, and tomato. It's really good. Or kashka badamjun, which is
Yeah.
another eggplant dish. These are usually served more as appetizers, but they're really delicious if you like eggplant. Both of those are wonderful. And then I cook, usually what I do, just so for folks at home listening, what I do with my
Alyssa
stews,
is so regretting asking this question.
it's like
False.
a few minutes later.
Yeah.
Okay, last thing is what I was going to say is if folks want to make adaptations of those stews, like if you
Mhm.
see them in these cookbooks, but you don't eat meat,
Yeah.
this is pretty simple and maybe too boring for folks, but I just don't do the meat, and then I put tofu so I have some
Sure.
protein source, and then I
Yeah.
add mushrooms because I love mushrooms and
Yeah.
they like make everything better. And then I do the rest pretty much the same
Yeah.
way. I mean, I don't just to be clear, I don't cook off of cookbooks, so I don't actually know exactly what they say
Right.
in them for like most of my Persian food, but that's my general
Yeah.
adaptation that I
That's
do
great.
to make
You,
it
I
vegetarian.
recommend it, and I would include beans. And there's a lot of Persian stews that already have beans as a part
Yep.
of it. And I think we should.
Yeah.
No, yes, we could go into greater depth about the sour palate of the North versus the sweet palate
Mm.
of Tehran, which is disgusting. But that is not. It's neither here nor there. Neither here nor there. Well, that's for a different podcast completely.
Yeah, that's when we become food influencers.
Oh my
Uh,
God, that would be the life, and not worry about vaccines not being taken and RFK Jr. Oh my God, that'd be amazing.
you just have to get out of the pocket of the pharmaceutical companies, Kaveh,
Deep in the
and that'll
pocket
be
of
fine.
big fiber.
Kaveh's a
We're back
gastroenterologist.
to Kellogg.
Yeah,
Full circle.
that's right.
Full circle. Well, I don't know, Alyssa, were there any other like burning questions that we can try to answer more succinctly than we have?
I don't. I think your show is done. I don't
I
think.
think we did it. I think I mean I purposefully ended on that
Well, that's right.
food question because I thought it would be a joyful
I love
thing.
it.
I'll be honest with you, did not expect the fighting.
Oh no! You're going to see the diaspora has different opinions.
I get it.
On
Sounds great.
literally everything.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Anyway, well, on that note, thank you so much for joining us, Kaveh Jun, a friend of the pod, as they say.
Oh,
That's
you're
it
getting
for
the
this.
lingo down. Look at you.
Look at me. It's
Natural.
almost like we have a podcast.
Yeah.
That is it for this week's episode. If you didn't like what you heard, this has been the House of Pod podcast.
That's a great. You should listen to the House of Pod. I'm going to plug it right now. The House of Pod. If you like this show, it's a lot like that, except it's not as smart, which is probably good for most Americans. So listen to us at the House of Pod. You'll enjoy it there, and you'll hear these two people there as well.
These two people.
We love the House of Pod.
We do.
Also, follow us on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. We are at The Present Illness, and you can stay on top of all of our TPI-related news.
And if you did like the podcast, please subscribe or follow us on any of those platforms. And obviously, wherever you get your podcasts, leave us a review and a rating if you can. And we'll be back next week with more headlines, hot takes, and doom scrolling, hopefully wrapped in some laughs.
And you won't believe it, we'll be back this week, at the end of this week, because this is our bonus episode.
You're right, it is this
But-
week. It's like 5 days from now. It feels like next week, but you're absolutely right. It's this week. We'll be back this week.
So until then, agitate, hydrate, take a nap, and we'll see you next time on The Present Illness. Production by Arghavan, Salles, and Alyssa Burgart. Editing by Alyssa Burgart. Social media by Arghavan, Salles. Original music by Joseph Uphoff. Don't take medical advice from random people on a podcast. This show's for informational purposes. It's meant to be fun, and it is certainly not medical advice. So take your medical questions to a qualified professional.